I'm back. Oh, my goodness. Should we give another award? No, we're not doing it. Just because you want it, we're not doing it. Okay, that's my parenting style. Congratulations, Aisha. That is phenomenal. And from Turkey to Florida, I just love countries that are named after food. You know, Turkey and Chile, or like Hungary. Isn't that a good one? Greece, things like, but especially, okay. All right, I didn't have lunch. Does anyone know? Okay, never mind. Okay. All right, we're not going to give an award. We're going to do another huge keynote, a huge one. This one's really big. How many of you watch the TV show Outrageous Acts of Science on the Discovery Channel? I think it moved from the Discovery Channel. On my cable, it did. It's like on the Science Channel now. I don't know. It's finding another home. But it is awesome. And this woman that I'm going to introduce actually is one of the co-hosts of Outrageous Acts of Science. In addition, she is the first Mexican woman to, we didn't say what she did yet, but the first Mexican woman to, anybody can do it, receive a PhD in physics from Stanford University. Yeah, no, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. That's a phenomenal achievement. She, along with everyone else you've seen today, is a huge advocate for women in STEM. She helped to create the first data science curriculum for high school girls. She's also a global ambassador for Technovation, and that's another STEM program aimed at women and girls and high school girls in underserved communities. But, all that aside, I'm going to tell you the coolest thing about this lady that we're going to meet. She's going to be a movie star, and this is, I wish I was lying. I'm not. This is not fake. This is the truth. She's going to star in an IMAX film, and she's going to be the face of this film, and the film is called Secrets of the Universe. And what it is, it's a reality show about particle physics. Huh? What? Yeah, you think that'll be a big hit? It will be a huge hit. So it follows this, like the Atom family. Huh? It follows the Atom family, and the father's a little negatively charged, if you know what I mean, And then one day, the String family moves in next door, and the String family thinks they know the theory of everything. Wow. And you're going to see chaos ensue when all these Addams family get together and try to just work out, different situations. And it's not staged. This is really true reality show particle physics. Serious. The whole thing, everything I just said is true. And I'd like to introduce to you now the first Mexican woman to get a PhD from Stanford in physics. I just wanted to say that again. I wanted to introduce you, Dr. Debbie Berebichez. Please come on out.
Thank you so much, Nora, for that wonderful introduction. And thank you to the organizers of the Grace Hopper celebration. I am so honored and deeply humbled to be here. It is amazing to witness thousands of women with diverse and amazing backgrounds all come together through their love for computing, isn't it? I am just elated to be here and meet all of you. Today, I'd like to share 3 messages with you that I hope will guide you and inspire you as you progress in your careers. Think deeply, be bold, and help others. I am thrilled that every year, more and more women discover the joy and the beauty of coding. We are doing the work, and the numbers are showing it. However, I confess that I am concerned about something. Becoming a technologically savvy person is not just about learning how to code. It's about learning how to think deeply, how to think critically about whatever problem you're trying to solve. And in our enthusiasm to quickly get more women to code, I'm afraid that we are not emphasizing the need to teach deeply, how to think deeply and critical thinking. Or as I like to say, turtles are not just numbers. Let me explain. I recently visited a museum of science, and they had a high school group of very bright and talented young women all learning how to code. They were actually learning how to code in SQL, and they had a database of turtles that lived in the museum in order to analyze them. They had told me that the turtles were very small, and they would fit in the palm of my hand. And so I looked at the screens, and these girls were impressive. They were very proficient with SQL. Now, when somebody shows me their code, I always like to understand the connection between the code and the real world. So I looked at the screen, and in the column for weights, there were numbers that ranged from 200 to 400. So I asked the girls, so is this weight in kilograms, or is it in pounds? There was silence. One girl finally raised her hand, and she said, I think it's in pounds. To which I responded, wait, I weigh around 120 pounds, and you're telling me that these little turtles that fit in the palm of my hand weigh double my weight? We all laughed. We knew it didn't make sense. So in the end, we figured out it was actually in grams. But not one girl, after working for this code for 3 months, had stopped to think. Turtles had become numbers on the screen. You may think that this is just an error of units that was made. But in fact, it reminded me of all the other times that I have visited coding classes, and I have not been able to get answers to fundamental questions, such as, what is the problem you're trying to solve? What are the assumptions behind your approach? What is the larger goal? And unfortunately, this problem persists beyond coding classes. In the professional world, there are even more important questions that need to be answered, such as, how will your code impact this project, this business, and the world at large? Is your algorithm biased in any way? Does it support inclusion and diversity? Can you achieve your goal in a way that will benefit society? With the advent of machine learning and AI, this last question is even more pressing. In the words of Dr. Fei-Fei Li from her Wednesday keynote, she said, we're entering an era in which technology should be guided by our values as much as our ingenuity. We must remember that computers don't yet teach us how to think critically or why we should address a problem. Even Grace Hopper said, a human must turn information into knowledge or intelligence. At Metis, where I am chief data scientist, we conduct in our many data science training programs, we conduct collaborative project-based learning that emphasizes critical thinking. And when we report the results of our data science projects, we not only talk about their technical features, we talk about their impact and motivation. I believe that thinking deeply is essential for any woman who wants to leave their mark on the world. So as you build your careers, aim for more than being just a great coder. Aim to be a thought leader. Ask the difficult, uncomfortable questions. Seek rational discussions with people you disagree with. Use your critical thinking skills to propose new ideas, and then use your technical skills to implement them. Dare to let your mind take you beyond what others think possible. My second message is be bold. I believe thinking deeply is the foundation of a meaningful existence. But it's not enough. You have to turn thought into action. You are the only person in your lives who can turn your dreams into reality. You're the only person who can turn them into an actionable thing. Have the courage to follow those dreams and those passions. Like many of you here, I was attracted to science and math from an early age. But I grew up in Mexico City, in a community that was fairly conservative and discouraged young women from pursuing careers in the hard sciences. So from a very young age, I was insatiably curious. I wanted to know everything about the world and why things worked. But in the community that I lived, the expectations were that a woman should marry early, young, have kids, and stay at home. When I was a teenager, I confessed to my mother that I loved physics. And she told me, Deborah, that's nice, but don't tell the boys. You'll intimidate them, and you'll never get married. So with all that discouragement, I became insecure about my math skills, and I learned to hide my love for math and physics. And the unfortunate thing is that the teachers in school were no better. Their advice was, you know, as a woman, the lifestyle for a researcher is not really good. Also, you have to be a genius to do physics. So have you considered studying communications? And I learned secretly, I had to learn as much as I could about subjects that mattered to me, because no one around me accepted that. So I enrolled in a more traditional BA, which was philosophy, because I was told that because I was so inquisitive, philosophy would allow me to ask many questions about the universe and the world. So after 2 years of doing philosophy, I realized that the more I try to hide that inner voice and stifle my desire to do physics and math, the more that voice was clamoring and asking me to follow my dreams and to pursue my passions. I had to be bold. There was no more time to wait. I became obsessed with a 16th century Danish astronomer, Tycho Brahe, who was locked up in a tower doing meticulous observations of the sky. He was totally antisocial. No one liked him. He lost his real nose in a duel, and in fact, a replacement one was made out of bronze. And I thought, you know, maybe I'll be like him. Nobody will like me. Hopefully I won't lose my nose. But I'll be locked up in a basement doing research somewhere, but at least I'll have my numbers to keep me company. So I tried to read as much as I could, but with no one to support me, I just had lost a lot of confidence. In the middle of my BA in philosophy, after 2 years, I decided to apply to schools in the US behind everyone's back. But there was a problem. We probably could not afford a university in the US that would cost about 8 times what the Mexican local university cost. So I was very lucky. Something amazing happened. Brandeis University in Massachusetts admitted me as a transfer student. I flew to Brandeis in the middle of the winter. I had not seen the snow before. It was a different language. And I had this amazing scholarship from the WIN program, for which I will forever be grateful. I was very nervous when I arrived at Brandeis. Nevertheless, I had the courage to enroll in my first ever science course. It was an astronomy class, very general, introductory course, very little math. And in that class, I became very good friends with a teaching assistant who was a graduate student from India by the name of Rupesh. Rupesh and I became very good friends, and we would walk around campus for hours talking about rocket launches and astronomy. And one day, when that inner voice told me that my destiny was in my hands, and if it wasn't for me, nobody else was going to make things happen, and my dream was in my future, I teared up as we were walking in Harvard Square. I looked at Rupesh, and I said, Rupesh, I just don't want to die without trying. I don't want to die without trying to do physics. And he did something that forever changed the course of my life. Rupesh got up and called his advisor, Dr. Wardle, who was the chair of the physics department at Brandeis, and he said, look, we have a student here who has 2 years of philosophy, but she would love to add the physics major. But there's a problem. She has only 2 years here with her scholarship, and the physics major takes normally 4 years. Dr. Wardle called me into his office, so there I went, and he said, only one other person has attempted this in the history of Brandeis. He switched from history to physics. His name is Ed Witten. I thought he was kidding. Ed Witten is a famous physicist. There's no way that I could pull this off. He handed me a book called Div, Grad, and Curl, Vector Calculus in 3 dimensions, an alien language for me. And he said, if by the end of the summer you master this material and we'll test you on it, then we'll let you skip through the first 2 years of the physics major so that you can complete it in 2 years. Rupesh did something for which I will always be grateful. He devoted 2 months of his summer to teaching me and tutoring me everything in physics so that I could condense the first 2 years in 2 months. The weekend was derivatives, and then Monday, classical mechanics, everything from calculus to quantum mechanics. When I finished the summer, I passed the test, and I joined physics in my junior year. And that's why I always say, with perseverance and hard work, the world is yours. After that, I went back to Mexico, but again I encountered a stifling environment, and I was doing a master's in physics at the University UNAM. And when I was there, I decided that I wanted to go back to the US and pursue a PhD. So I went to my advisor's office. I was pretty late in the application cycle when I decided that, and I told Jose Luis, you know, I want to go back to the US. My hunger to know the world and discover things is just not going to go away. I'm not satisfied with just a master's. I need to go further. And he said, so who are you thinking about joining? Well, who are you writing to? I said, well, I'm pretty late, but I wrote to a couple of people. There's somebody at Stanford that I find particularly interesting. There's this guy that is working with DNA molecules, and he basically, with lasers, pulls them apart so that the molecule folds back again, and he can study the dynamics of DNA. It's amazing. His name is Steve Chu. Jose Luis' jaw dropped. He said, Steve Chu? I said, yes, why? He said, do you realize he just won the Nobel Prize a couple of months ago? I hadn't. Had I known, I would have never written him such a casual email. But to my delight, he responded and invited me to visit and find out more about the program. I was accepted at Stanford, I enrolled, and things were not easy. And in the beginning, after 2 months of being there, I had to take the qualifying exam, which is the exam that all physicists have to take to prove mastery of the material so that you can stay and do the PhD. And I failed. I failed really badly. Although the rules of the program maintained that I was allowed to retake the exam a year later, I was advised to leave by the male chair of the graduate student committee. I found out that the other person that failed was a woman. She also was advised to leave. We got together, and we now think that was actually a gift, because I have learned to believe that success, the road to success, is paved with many obstacles, and that the people that succeed are not the ones for whom things come easily, but the ones that keep getting up, failure after failure. This other woman and I, thank you. My colleague and I got together, and we did not let them deter us from pursuing our dream. We put our lives on hold, studied like crazy, presented the exam the next year, and passed. And after a few years of doing research, I became the first Mexican woman to get a PhD in physics at Stanford. We dared to believe in ourselves. We were bold, and we made it happen. And it all started with an email. And it doesn't have to be an email. My boldness also took me to my TV show that I currently co-host with the Science Channel. Because I answered a tweet. I didn't think I had what it took, but I answered a tweet from a production company that was looking for physicists who would be good at explaining crazy explosions and amazing engineering feats in simple and entertaining ways. I sent a poorly lit video of me explaining science to no one in my living room after having a little bit of wine to muster up the courage. And I showed up to the audition, and I was in. And we're going strong after 6 years. And it's the #1 show on the channel. Thank you. So be bold, because boldness does not guarantee success. But if you're not bold, and if you don't get up and make your passions and your dreams come true, no one else will do it for you. My final message is help others. There's no doubt that a career in physics or computing can be a lonely journey for a woman. We are often told that we should stick to what we're already good at and avoid risks. And science and computing is all about trying and failing and trying, so naturally, it's easy to feel discouraged. That's why an important part of my career has been to mentor other amazing women who like to pursue their careers in STEM. I created the first data science curriculum for high school girls of underserved backgrounds together with another group of amazing women, and it's called G3, and it's being deployed by Girls Inc. I want to close by sharing one last story. You may be wondering how I ever repaid Rupesh, that graduate student from India who helped me condense the first 2 years of physics into 2 months. When I wanted to pay him back, Rupesh said no. When I was growing up in Darjeeling in India, there used to be an old man who used to climb up the mountain to teach me and my sisters English, the tabla, the musical instrument, and math. And every time we wanted to compensate him for all his mentoring, the old man said no. The only way you could ever pay me back is if you do this with someone else in the world. And that is how Rupesh passed the torch to me. And my mission in life began, to encourage and inspire and help other women who, like myself, feel attracted to a career in STEM, but who for some reason, whether it be financial or social, feel that they cannot achieve their dreams. And fellow women technologists, we must help each other. We must encourage each other. We have to all come together to go beyond what's possible. It's our time, and it's your time to think deeply, to be bold, and to help others. Thank you very much. And in my last goodbye, I'm going to share, I am a strong woman. Deal with it. Thank you very much.